All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to little one-on-one time. I will tell you this. It's going to be a little funky episode today because I'm about 45 minutes late and it's not my fault. I was here. This Wi-Fi is ass. I was always like, RJ, you're full of shit. And he is. But, when you're traveling, the Wi-Fi is not that bad. I'm connecting through my freaking phone because my Wi-Fi is that dog shit. So, I've been working this whole time trying to get this thing going, so I'm here for you guys. Happy Saturday. Every day's a Raider day. I had to bring my freaking hat on vacation here. Mini vacation. So, couple things to talk about. We had a good Wednesday show, a live show. Basically talked a lot about uh, the Derek Carr contract and what that means for the Raiders moving forward, which is all good things. It's all stuff that we need. It's all stuff that is going to be things that's going to be good for the team moving forward. Um, yeah, Carlos, Raider Nation, baby, all day. Um, I want to talk a little bit about that today. We're going to talk about a couple more things about some haters out in the world, but mostly I just want to get some conversation from you guys. Any questions that you guys have, because honestly, there's not much going on right now in the NFL. One of those things that happened recently is a player that's been linked to the Raiders for quite some time, Stefan Gilmore, signed with the Colts, and it makes sense. They send off their best corner to the Raiders, and they had a hole at corner, and maybe they were able to overpay a little bit for him. It's a 2-year deal to be a pretty decent amount of guaranteed money. For a corner coming off of a couple of injury-plagued seasons. He was the NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 2019. 20 and 2021 were not stellar for Stephon Gilmore. Interestingly, it happened to be after he left the Patriots, so who knows how that works out. And again, it's one of those things with a Belichick defense. Normally, you see a corner or someone from his secondary uh, leave and sign somewhere else, and maybe not reach the same heights as they did there in New England. But you know, Gilmore is signed, so no more pie in the sky on that if we're going to sign him. Another name that's been linked to the Raiders for quite some time is Tyrone Matthew. He's taken a lot of visits, uh, so there's some, I don't know. We'll see. Um, he says we're entering probably the third phase of free agency. Like the first phase is like the first couple days. Then there's like the lull afterwards, where people still get signed, but maybe not the big splashy signings. Now we're entering in more of draft mode. So you may see some guys signed, like Gilmore signed yesterday, but it's not going to be too common. You're going to see a lot of impact signings this next few weeks until the draft. After the draft, where you're going to see a little bit more signings, and then there's also post June 1st cuts and stuff like that. So one thing I want to start talking about here is first off, I'm not too keen on you know blasting out my boy RJ. Usually it's going to be with him here, but a mutual friend of ours came to Vegas and wanted to just chill and hang out and have a good time, just to kind of get away for a couple days. And RJ said, "Well, pick a weekend. I'm in Vegas. We'll hang out. We'll have fun." So we hit RJ up. I don't know, maybe around 9:30, and he said, "Oh man, I'm super wiped. I can't go out. Uh, I just can't go out. It's just not gonna happen today." And I'm like, "Bro, it's 9:30 on a Friday night in Las Vegas." Now I understand that RJ comes to Vegas like almost like pretty much every other weekend he's in Vegas. So I can also understand that he's not into like the whole go out and party and gamble and do all that stuff. Like he'll have dinner, he'll chill, maybe go to a bar, have a couple of drinks, and but we're out here to spend time, and he says he's too tired to go out. My friend and I go out, gamble, drink, strip club, the whole thing. We get home at like 5:30 in the morning. We get to the room at 5:30 in the morning, and all we could think of is if RJ fell asleep at 10 a.m., that's like 7.5 hours of sleep he's had already, and we haven't had a wink. So hopefully, RJ, I will give you tonight to redeem yourself. Look and sound like shit today because I went a little too hard last night, but you know what? This is how it works. You just gotta go hard or go home. Uh, Listen, bro. A gentleman never tells, and since I'm not a gentleman, I will say that I really wasn't in pipe down mode last night. I was more in chill mode with my boy. Uh, I will tell you, I made a very bad decision at around 4:30 in the morning, and we went down to Denny's, and something about those moon over my hammy. They're really good. That little breakfast sandwich is good. But it was a terrible idea to eat eat at like 4:30 in the morning because I paid for it today. I woke up with the worst stomach ache. Nothing wrong with Denny's, of course. It's more so the fact that I ate so freaking late, and it just I know my body can't handle that shit right now. Um, so excuse me for typing right now because I try to get all this done ahead of time, but unfortunately, uh, it just didn't work out. But I want to talk about this real quick. In reading about and listening to Derek Carr's press conferences and stuff after his contract, it really brings to light how influential the Devontae Adams trade and signing was to the Derek Carr deal getting finalized and being as, I mean, honestly, as team friendly as it is. The money that we spent extra, let's say maybe people would be looking, some people out there would be looking and giving a side eye to the amount of money given to a 30-year-old, 29 going to be 30-year-old wide receiver. Well, the money that we gave Devontae Adams is basically the money that we didn't give Derek Carr. So Carr took a little bit less in some people's eyes to maybe give Devontae Adams a little bit more in people's eyes. But because of that trade-off and because of that show of commitment to getting weapons, building a better team, wanting to build the right way, Carr was able to agree to a contract that is super flexible. A lot of people are calling it a Tom Brady type deal, which pretty much it is. Um, if you've noticed, for quite some time now, and it's not all because Brady is older and maybe doesn't want to commit to a certain amount of years because he can always retire whenever he wants. Um, hasn't really signed too many super long term deals, those 5, 6 year deals, in quite some time now. Even shorter deals, not a lot of guaranteed money because hey, he knows he's not going anywhere, but he wants to have the flexibility for the team. Because of that, the teams that Brady has been on has been able to keep a lot of their core talent and sign some free agents here and there as needed, and they've been able to sustain success. I think if you have that kind of trust and respect between quarterback and front office, you're able to kind of pull off these kinds of deals that are pretty much cheat codes, basically, because you're not spending such a huge amount, a huge percentage of your cap on one player, and you're able to disperse that to other players when you're getting all the benefits of having a veteran quarterback, but you're not having to pay the price for it cap wise. So because of that, I think it's a great deal. We talked, RJ and I talked about it on the show on Wednesday, which was a different show, wasn't very produced or anything, just a live show talking about it because we were so happy about not so much the deal itself, but for the fact that what the deal represents. The deal represents a shift in the way business is going to be done with the Raiders moving forward. And that's always something that's going to be welcomed because honestly, I know we can all agree that the front office dealings for the past hell, I don't know, 20 years have not been great. Um, I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we appreciate you guys. I appreciate all the fans out there, all you guys that are listening, all the guys that are watching, all the guys that are commenting. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We always uh, love to have your comments and your feedback. This channel and our content is only going to be as good as the content that you give us. Um, the the news is the news. Our opinions are our opinions, and you can go anywhere for that. What makes this channel what it is you guys and your guys' responses and your guys' commitment to us and to kind of going back and forth and giving us your ideas and your thoughts and us being able to bounce that back and forth. So I want to again thank you guys because it is huge for us to have such a great fan base. We don't always agree, and we'll get to some of that stuff right now. Um, uh, but ultimately, we want the same thing. So that brings us to my next subject I want to talk about. Mike Florio is freaking tripping, dude. Um, okay, now I'm not the biggest car apologist out there. I am not a car apologist at all. I like part of it is because my chick told me that it's because I'm a Virgo that I'm very hard on myself, right? I scrutinize myself and I'm a perfectionist, right? But when I care about something, right? When something means a lot to me, I comb that with a fine tooth comb as well. So it's not just you're very hard on this, but you're not really hard on that. If I don't scrutinize something and try to make it better, it's because I don't really care about it, right? Well, I care about the Raiders, and since Derek Carr is our quarterback, I care how he plays and what his play actually is. A lot of times people like to look at certain stats and try to blow up certain things and not look at others. And I'm not a huge stat guy myself. I like to watch the game and the stats back up what I see. I think a lot of people watch games having looked at stats first and look for games to validate those stats. That's a fine way to look at the game as well. Unfortunately, what you end up doing many times is you end up looking for just the things you want to see, and you don't look at a game or a play or someone's performance for what it actually is. You're just looking for those bits and pieces that fit the narrative of the stats you already have coming into the game, right? So I had a discussion with somebody on the message boards and a couple other guys in my DMs and stuff like that. They were telling me, oh, well, 'cause I think the whole thing started with when I said the whole Marcus Johnson back and forth, right? About Carr and his performance moving forward and how it needs to be better. Because, well, I'll say why right now. Basically, his performance needs to be better. Someone asked me why. What about his performance isn't good, or what about his performance didn't you like? And I said, you know what? For right now, I would love Carr in the next season to have a better touchdown to turnover ratio. Now, if you're an elite quarterback or you're a high end quarterback in the league, I think we can all agree that 24 passing touchdowns just isn't enough touchdowns. Okay. Uh, I understand that. I get that. I think we all get that. I don't think any of us are happy with 24 passing touchdowns. And I understand that, losing your head coach, losing your number one. I mean, I wouldn't even call Ruggs his number one target. He was his ex receiver, right? Like he was that number one receiver, but he wasn't his number one target. Okay, I understand all that. I get it, but uh, you also have to take a look at the 21 turnovers as well. I think we can all agree that Derek Carr fumbles way too much, and I don't want to get into the excuses, guys, like, oh, his line sucks or he gets hit too much because he's had a really good line before where they've pumped a bunch of money into lines where guys go to other teams and start and be good performers there as well. And he still fumbled a lot. I'm not bashing on Carr. I'm just trying to give you the stats and why I feel how I feel. So 24 touchdowns to 21 total turnovers is nearly a 1-to-1 ratio, right? And my explanation was, look, a lot of things that I've been hearing is, well, Gruden's scheme sucks in the red zone, right? Uh, Gruden sucks in the red zone. Okay, that's one thing. His scheme is not good in the red zone because he's very predictable and he's too okay with kicking field goals that he kind of eases up towards the end zone. Okay, I've heard that before, and we've addressed that. We have a new head coach who is an offensive genius. It's not my words. I hear it all the time. A lot of people that are insiders, a lot of people that are former players, a lot of people that are former coaches, they say the same thing. Josh Allen is an offensive genius. He has never lacked for red zone productivity as far as touchdowns go because of his schemes and everything. So that scheme thing is taken care of. All right. He's never had elite weapons at receiver. He had Cooper, Crabtree, and when he had those guys, he had the most touchdowns. Okay. Well, now we went out and got on Devontae Adams. Renfro is developed. We still have Edwards. We have Waller. We have Moreau. We have Jacobs. We have Drake. So we have a lot of offensive weapons to choose from. So that excuse is kind of pushed to the side now as well. So what I'm looking for from Derek Carr, and I hope we can all agree on this, is a better than a nearly 1-to-1 touchdown to turnover ratio. What does that mean? If you're going to have 21 turnovers in a season, you better have 35, 40 touchdowns passes. It's just the way it is. You can't have that many like freaking my homeboy over there in Kansas City. He threw a lot of interceptions. He fumbled a few times, but guess what? He threw a shit ton of touchdowns too. That's what you want to see. If you're going to turn the ball over that much, you also need to throw the touchdowns as well. You need to be the reason why those touchdowns happen. Okay. What I heard a lot back from a lot of Carr fans or Carr apologists, because I'm a Carr fan, I'm just not a Carr apologist. I'm going to tell it to you straight. Is oh well, he led, he was top 5 in yards and, he led the league or top 5 in completion percentage and no one else did that. Well, completion percentage doesn't win you games and outgaining another team doesn't win you games. Can they lead to you winning games? Of course they can. But they lead you to that point where guess what? You score points, you score touchdowns. And if that's not happening, those are empty stats. And I will give you an example. Deshaun Watson, his last full year he played, led the league in passing yards, and he won 4 games. So throwing for a lot of yards does not equate into winning a lot of games. What does equate into winning more games is scoring more points. And that's why I said, now that Carr has this contract set up, right? Now that he has this contract set up and he has better weapons and he has a better scheme and better red zone. Oh man, freaking who's knocking on my door? And a better scheme and just a better overall team on the offensive end, his production should go up. And that's what I'm looking for here. All right, guys, hang on a second. Someone's knocking at my door. Give me a second. Give me 2 seconds. Housekeeping, I fluff your pillow. Housekeeping, want me to jerk you off? No, thank you. So, sorry about that, guys. I'm back. Uh, that was my main deal with the whole statements that I made about Derek Carr and his production moving forward. I am looking for more out of Derek Carr, specifically his production now. We have a better defense, or we have better pieces on our defense. We have a more dynamic, more modern defense. We have a more dynamic, more modern offense. With those improvements, I don't think any of us will be okay with a near 20, near 1-to-1 touchdown to turnover ratio. Now, this brings me to my last point. I was in an exchange with somebody who was like, touchdown to turnover ratio, that's not even a stat. I looked at all these stat things and I looked here, I looked there, I looked up and down, and I couldn't find anyone who put any value or any stat number into touchdowns to turnover ratio. Okay, so here's the deal on that. I think we can all, uh, agree that we want our quarterback to throw more touchdowns than he turns the ball over. How much more? Well, a 2-to-1 ratio would be ideal. Then you have like the Aaron Rodgers of the world who throw for 40 touchdowns and only throw 4 interceptions and maybe fumble 2 or 3 times a year. So it's like an 8-to-1 ratio. That's excellent. But you would want to have a better ratio than near even 1-to-1 ratio. Just because it's not a stat that people look at, it may be something that we need to take a look at moving forward. So one thing that I'm really worried about for this season, and I think that we've talked about it a little bit. Yeah, Mike Florio is tripping still. Well, Florio is still tripping. I didn't even get on that. Florio goes on Pro Football Talk, and he basically calls Derek Carr a phony. He says Carr is not the type of person that he projects himself to be, and he's fake and he's phony. That's why he gives Carr a lot of shit. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a second. Far be it for me. I've never been accused with being like a Derek Carr #1 fan or anything like that. I'm a Raider fan before anything else. And if you play for the Raiders, I will root for you. But once you leave, I'm not going to root for you anymore. It's just the way it is. Sorry. I don't think that any of these guys that are playing in the NFL right now expect any different. Because as soon as they leave an organization and play for another, they don't really give a shit what happens over there as far as their team goes. I mean, they're the players and their friends, yeah, but the team itself, I want my team that I'm playing on to do well, and that's what I'm focused on, right? And I don't expect any different. So everything that Derek Carr has said, he's done. The one thing that you can't pin on him, and you can't say, "Oh, this guy's being phony right now," is when Derek Carr says, if I don't play for the Raiders, I won't play for anyone else. And that's the one thing that you can't prove. And it's the one thing that Florio is just hanging on by calling Carr a phony. Everything else Carr has said, he's done. The latest thing that he said was, I don't need to be the highest paid quarterback in the league. That's already happened. I just want to win. His contract has proven that. So, where no team really, no player really ever takes these team friendly deals other than like a Tom Brady who was the best quarterback in the league for a lot of years. So he knew he wasn't going to get released and he knew he was going to make all those dollars up, not guaranteed or not. But Derek Carr did it. And by no means is Derek Carr as secure in his job in Las Vegas for the Raiders as Brady was for the Patriots. Brady was locked in. He was like an institution over there. Okay, um, so is it a gamble? I wouldn't. I would say no. I think that he's still going to be pretty fixed at the position. But Florio wants to hang on to the fact that, oh, well, he says if he doesn't play for the Raiders, he won't play for anyone else. He'll retire. And that makes him a phony. It's something that you can't prove. You can't prove until it actually you have some proof of it actually being a possibility, right? That's like saying, hey guys, last night, by my actions, I saved the entire universe. It was going to explode, the whole universe was going to end, and I saved it. Well, you can't prove that I did it because we're still here. And that's the same thing Florio is doing, but in the reverse. You can't prove that Carr won't retire if he doesn't play for the Raiders because he's not retired. He's still with the Raiders. And that just bugs me about Florio. I think it's very lazy reporting. I think it's very he's just lazy when it comes to the Raiders. He always bashes them. He always bashes Carr for some stupid crap. And you know what? I get on Carr too for certain things, but at least I have like solid concrete things to back it up. Florio just wants to just pick stuff out of his ass and pretend like he should be paid for what he's doing. Honestly, I don't think he should be paid for that stupid shit. That's just lazy reporting to me. Uh, I know a lot of you guys don't like Florio either. I've called him I think fuckface for a long time, and I don't know him personally. I don't care to know him personally, honestly. He just seems like somebody who is more of a troll than anything else. And honestly, guys, I if you guys want to troll me, I may bite, I may not, and that's fine because you're fans and we all want the same thing. But if you're making money by basically being a professional troll, that's just idiotic to me. I don't understand what kind of sex tape you had on your boss to make him keep you on the job to where you can just come out here and throw and say all this stupid crap with no backing and no basis whatsoever. And you know, if anyone's the phony, freaking Florio is pretending to be an analyst or a sports writer or a reporter because you can't prove or disprove what he's banging on Carr for. It's just idiotic. And it really bugs me because honestly, it makes me look bad. Whenever I give true and honest criticism of any player, including Derek Carr, it makes me look worse because of guys like him who are just trolls and like I get painted with the same brush and I'm not that. I'm always going to give you reasons why I feel the way I feel. See what's going on here. FAKC. No, I'm not at the Holiday Inn. Get out of here. They do have a good breakfast though, continental breakfast. All right. Richard Kidd says Carr has never had a defense that was better than 22nd in points per game allowed. Okay, great. I'm talking about his play specifically. Then this is Richard. I'm glad you said that, my man. I'm very glad you said that. The issue that I have has nothing to do with wins and losses. It has to do with Carr's play and Carr's numbers specifically. The Carr doesn't play defense, right? So me talking about Carr and then talking about his defense doesn't make sense. Okay, I think it's something that is more of an excuse thrown out there as to why Carr hasn't won games. I didn't say. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I haven't said anything about winning and losing games when I'm talking about Derek Carr right now. I'm talking about his performance and reasons that his numbers haven't been up to, let's say, the numbers of other players who are in the same realm as him, and specifically with touchdowns versus turnovers. He has a better scheme now, better scheme, better coaching, better play calling in the red zone. Also, he has better weapons to throw to. So that should increase his numbers as far as touchdowns go. As far as turnovers go, that's on him to not throw the interceptions and to not fumble as much. So points per game allowed has nothing to do with him throwing touchdowns and turning the ball over. Sorry, guys. Um, that's not true. Um, I will say this: if a field goal wins us the game, I think Carr is very good at beating a prevent D to get the ball down. And this is why I say when he's a very good player of the position, he plays the position of quarterback excellently. Like when I was posed the question, who's better, Derek Carr or Justin Herbert at quarterback? I'm like, well, Justin Herbert has better physical tools, but Derek Carr is a better quarterback. He plays that position better than Justin Herbert does. So Carr can get the ball down there if you need a field goal. If you need a touchdown, like in the Cincinnati game, that's iffy. It's harder to do, of course, but that leads also to his red zone issues and stuff like that. Um, let's see here. Speaking of trolls, dude, you're I'm gonna stop giving you so much freaking airtime because you're just trying to get on my nerves. Okay. So last thing I want to talk about before I open up the floor to you guys is ay ay ay. I'm nervous about this, guys. Now, here's one thing. I am confident that we have our coaching staff is going to be a little bit heavier on the teaching and development. Also, and here's the last piece of it as well, is holding accountable to what you teach. None of these players that are on this team right now were brought in on the offensive line, excuse me, were brought in by this current regime, right? So these players have no extra connection to anyone in the front office. Best player plays. That's the good thing and bad thing about having a clean slate, right? We talked about it. If you were a little bit underperforming player and you weren't starting, if you just kind of click it into gear and start moving forward like a Cleve Farrell, maybe he'll get some more playing time, right? If you're a player like a Leatherwood or a Parker or whoever, right, or Simpson, who's starting out of necessity and was a high draft pick and was owed a lot of money, and you were playing because of your draft pick level or position or your pay, but you weren't playing as well, this new regime is not going to just keep you on because the past regime picked you first or picked you in the third round or second round or whatever. Best players are going to play. So that's a good thing for me. I want to read off a couple of things here. These are some stats, next gen ESPN next gen stats when it comes to blocking win rate. So what is blocking win rate? Blocking win rate is, can you win your block for, I think it's 2.5 or 3 seconds. I'm not sure exactly which one it is, but it's for a specific period of time. I believe, don't quote me, but let's just say 2.5 seconds. I believe it's around that time. But here's the deal. All these offensive linemen and their numbers that I'm going to talk about right now, it's league wide. So all the starters, all the players in the league, this is how many percentage of the time they won their pass blocks and how many percentage of the time they won their run blocks. So let's start with our left tackle, Colton Miller. Colton Miller last year had an 83% run block win rate, which was 31st out of left tackles in the NFL, and a 93 pass block win rate, which was 5th out of left tackles in. So he's the 5th best pass blocking left tackle. But he was only the 31st best run blocking left tackle. So out of that criteria, if you stack him up against all the other left tackles in the NFL, he is considered a bad run blocker, but a good pass blocker. Maybe we can work on that, right? Let's move on to John Simpson. John Simpson. John Simpson, out of the left guard spot, won 62% of his run blocks, which is 30th out of left guards, and 90% of his pass blocks, which is 23rd out of left guards. That would put him in the area of a bad run blocker and a bad pass blocker. So unfortunately, that's not good for us. All right. Center, Andre James. Andre James was shown as out of centers in the NFL, 78% run block win rate, which was 16th in the NFL, about midway through, and 81% pass block win rate, which was 22nd in the NFL out of centers. So that would categorize him as a good run blocker and a bad pass blocker. Okay, here we go. Here's the interesting one. Alex Leatherwood. Alex Leatherwood was a 70% run block win rate out of right guard, which was 13th. 86%, excuse me, pass block win rate at right guard, which was 28th. That would put him in the category of a good run blocker and a bad pass blocker. So if you notice what's happening here is you have one side of the line that is good at pass blocking but bad at run blocking. And now you have another part of the line, the center and the right guard, who are good at run blocking but bad at pass blocking. So it's like nothing really meshes up, right? Now here's the interesting. At right tackle, Alex Leatherwood had a 57% pass block win rate and a 60% run block win rate at right tackle. Both of those were dead last in the NFL at right tackle. So for all of you Alex Leatherwood apologists, he was the worst blocking right tackle at both pass blocking and run blocking in the NFL last year. He does not need to be a right tackle. Plus, you look at all of the penalties and stuff like that, it just wasn't going to be a good deal. And then now you have Brandon Parker, 78% run block win rate, which was 7th in the NFL for right tackles, 75% pass block win rate, which was 14th in the NFL for right tackles. So he's actually considered a good run blocker and a good pass blocker as far as right tackles go. I know, crazy, right? So those are the O-line issues we need to fix and clean up moving forward. We have the left guard and left tackle who are good pass blockers but bad run blockers. We have the center and right guard who are good run blockers but bad pass blockers. So we don't have that really mesh in our line to be able to really have a sustained drive with good plays and no mistakes. All right, I'm gonna leave it open to you guys. What questions do you have for me? I want to take a look at some stuff here, what you guys have been talking about. Everyone's ganging up on the KC fans in here. Raiders gunning for a 4th ring and most likely more this decade. We'll have to see. Jack Kenna back on. He says, Soto, salute, brother. I was surprised to see you give Carr's contract an approval. Well, Jack, I mean, why wouldn't I? He's given the Raiders flexibility moving forward in years. Again, he would have to fall flat on his face multiple years in a row, at least 2 years in a row, for him to be released out of this contract because there's no guaranteed money. He's probably going to see every bit of that money, and the flexibility that the team offers, or the team is offered, having a player that should take up the most of their cap, actually taking up as much cap as like a rookie contract. You have all the benefits of a veteran quarterback, but also all the benefits of a rookie quarterback as far as cap wise goes. So it's a great deal, and I do think that Carr's going to receive the money for his deal. Let's see here. There's no one in the draft equal to Hill. That's the okay. I think you're talking about KC stuff right now. Carr didn't help up cap space. That's not true. That's just simply not true. This year, he took a little bit more of a cap hit than he would have normally on his old contract. But moving forward, these non-guaranteed contracts, they can be messed with and twisted and finagled any which way to make the cap hit very minimal. And the cap's just going to keep going up and up and up. So look into that, Casey. Look into that Heffa, Casey. Look into how non-guaranteed contracts can be manipulated to like signing bonuses and stuff like that. To where they're not a huge cap hit. So look into that. I think you'll be surprised. B-Man Vegas. Juan, I think our first 2 picks will go cornerback and offensive line. What do you think? You know what? Those are 2 of the deepest position groups in the draft this year. Is secondary and offensive line. I would not be mad at the Raiders going that way. they do have to be dynamic players at corner to take them that high. I think with the amount of talent you're going to see dropping for the offensive line, I would rather and what I just outlined right now as far as the offensive line win rates, I would like them to probably go O line their first two picks. But again, there's a lot of talent in the offensive line group this year, and because some of the talent and let's say some of the lesser groups like linebacker, interior defensive line, uh, you know, there's quarterback stuff like that. I see a lot of players being reached for because once you hit that ceiling of the first top third, the drop off is pretty steep. So maybe some of these position groups that are a little deeper might get pushed back towards the end of the draft, which bodes well for us because I mean we need all the offensive line help we can get. Driving, but would Jack Kenna again driving, but would love to discuss Carr's contract with you. Sure, man. Hit me up. Hit me up. Hit me up on the hip. You can hit me up on Twitter. It's probably the easiest way to get me. Uh, Mr. Wonderful 42 at Twitter. You can just hit me up there and we'll talk about it. But the contract's amazing, man. The contract's really good. Again, this is like a quote unquote Brady contract. This is what he's done for a lot of the last part of his tenure with New England. And what he did with Tampa, he took less guaranteed money, knowing, hey, I'm like the face of the freaking league. The New England's not going to cut me, even though it's non-guaranteed money. I'm still going to get it. But with non-guaranteed money, it can be switched around and moved around to not be such a cap hit and allow the team to sign more of their own free agents and also sign outside free agents as well. Super team friendly deal. I think that, and that's why the Florio thing really bugs me. Florio's calling Carr a phony, and I'm not the biggest Carr apologist, like I said, but if you're gonna bang on somebody for something, be honest and truthful about it. Don't just be a troll about it. If you're gonna call Carr a phony, what has he said and not done? He said he was gonna take a free team friendly deal, and he did. The only thing that you can bang on him about is him saying that he would retire if he wasn't a Raider, but you can't bang on him that yet because it's not happened. Like I said before, that's like me saying, "Hey, last night I saved the universe. Everyone should thank me." You can't prove that I did it because we're still here, but it's like you can't prove that Carr won't do it because he's not retired yet or he hasn't been released yet or whatever. So bang on him for all the things that I bang on him for, like his touchdown turnover ratio, lack of wins, whatever. But don't bang on him for him not doing what he said he's going to do because he's done that. Where's RJ? RJ is probably still sleeping. That fuck. He slept. He went. I texted him at like 9:30. We were probably headed to a strip club around then. He's like, I want to hang out. I'm really tired. I'm like, dude. James West. Listen to the first part of this. That's the first thing I talked about. Is RJ very disappointing. Very disappointing. Jr. Um, Richard Lyon. He meaning Carr. Carr's actually taking less than Brady. He's getting paid less this next season than Brady is. It's going to ramp up. I think he's like 28, then it's going to be 30, 36, 46. But the cap hit is the big deal. Don't worry about the money. The funny money, don't worry about that. That doesn't matter. Mark Davis has plenty of money now. He's printing money since he got this new stadium, okay? What we have to focus on here is the cap hit. And we won't know next year's cap hit, excuse me, 2022's cap hit, we do know is going to be 26.5. But we don't know what 2023 is going to be because they haven't gotten in there and gotten, Ziegler and Champ haven't gotten in there and gotten their fingers into that contract of being able to kind of move around money to create more cap space, which they will do. I'm telling you, they will do every single year. Every single year, they can manipulate the cap to fit the team's needs and what they need to do. Salvador asks, what do you expect our record to be this year? You know what? Last year, with all the turmoil that happened, I predicted that we would be an 11-win team. With all the crap that happened to us last year, we were still a 10-win team. I don't see why we can't win 11, 12 games this next year, given that it's a 17-game season. 11-6, 12-5. I mean, that's not out of the realm of possibility. Now, let's say this: the West is very tough. Okay, the West is very difficult in the AFC. If you go 50-50, if you go 3-3 in division, I don't see. I could definitely see us losing 3 out of division games and being 11-6. That's not out of the realm of possibility here. um, or even losing only 2. Who knows? It all depends on how fast this offense gels together, how fast Graham is able to incorporate all these new pieces into his scheme, and how effective both McDaniels and Graham are at their game plans, as opposed to more of a Gruden and Bradley game plan with last year, which was this is our game plan. We're going to run the same shit every fucking game. All right. Steve the Cockfighter asks, if you guys re-sign Renfro and Waller, how will it impact the defense? Can't spend all the money on offense skill positions. Someone has to walk. Um, you know, the Waller issue, I don't see that being as big an issue as with other positions. First off, because Waller's not due to be re-upped until the end of next year. So Renfro we can do this year. Waller we can wait till next year. Every year that passes, that cap just skyrockets up and up and up. That's one thing. Another thing is, again, you still have Carr's contract, who would normally take up a big, huge chunk of your cap space. That's not going to take up a huge chunk of your cap. So, like just like we talked about, that the paying Devontae Adams like maybe a few million more dollars than you normally would give a 29-year-old wide receiver. Well, you were able to do that because Carr was taking less of a cap hit, as opposed to Carr taking that full 35, $40 million cap hit this year. It's only 26. So that extra money that you have in cap, you can spread it out to other players, and you can stagger it to where certain guys get more of a cap hit one year, other guys get more of a cap hit another year. So you can stagger it any kind of way you want. And I don't see Ziegler and Champ handcuffing themselves cap wise. I think they're a little too smart for that. As far as Waller goes, after next year, if you can't come to an agreement, you can always franchise the dude, because guess what? The franchise tag for tight ends isn't all that high. You can franchise a tight end for like 12 million bucks. It's not that much. And if you franchise him, you can then work out either have more time to work out a contract, or you can trade him, just like happened with Devontae Adams. So I don't see that being too much of an issue because of the way Carr's contract is structured. It's like again, it's like a cheat code. You get extra cap space. You get the benefits of a veteran quarterback, but you get the benefits of basically a rookie quarterback contract. Let's see here. B-Man Vegas going to bet over on season wins. I've won the last few years. Yeah, I think our over under from Vegas is 8.5. I think that's pretty low, man. But we'll see, man. You know, the NFL's tough. As quick as those windows open, they close just as quickly. But the fact that we have more talent this year, the fact that we talked about it on Wednesday, having that grit and having that toughness to be able to win those games that we did last year, especially towards the end, and make it to the playoffs despite all the crap happening off the field with Ruggs, with Arnett, with Gruden, all that crap happening, right? Great. That happens. You can do that for 1 year. You can win off of grit and determination for 1 year. That's good icing on the cake, right? We talked about. But you can't win multiple years with just icing. You need to have talent too. You need to have talent not only on your coaching staff but on the field as players as well. So I think having this more modern type of coaching where it's more opponent-based game plans, better, more modern schemes. Also, you have more talent on the team overall. Just more talent on there. And also, one thing that I didn't mention today is the extra cap space that we have because of Carr's deal. It's going to help kind of wash away some of those sins of the past regimes and their shitty draft picks and their shitty free agent signings. So we're going to be able. And we don't have a large amount of younger players that are coming through that are our draft picks, that are our guys that we can maybe renew a year early because it's going to be their first big contract, right? We have to do that through free agency, and we can get those free agents on their first big contract when they're still young, and we can still lock them in and still have them for their primo years, as opposed to getting guys who may be on their second big contract who are a little bit older and may not be able to play for us as long. Jack Kenna says, at Soto, do you see Carr's contract just the extension at 40 mil per year a team friendly? It's the 5th biggest in the league. Jack, stop focusing on the overall dollars. You have to look at cap space. So it is an average of the 3 years of $40 million. So it's 35, 40, 45, or something like that, right around there. It's 35, 40, 46 as far as non-guaranteed money. Don't worry about that number. The number we need to worry about is cap hit. How much of that money is structured to go against your salary cap? That's the main number. As far as overall dollars, we have plenty of money to pay these players now. Okay, we're not playing at the freaking mausoleum, the Coliseum. Okay, or we're not playing at the Oakland Coliseum, which was, I mean, it was a cool place to go watch a game, but that shit was a dump, dude. It was a shithole. It was a shithole when I went there 10 years ago. Okay, so the money that we have now, we're going to be able to do higher roster bonuses, higher, more incentive related contracts to be able to give these players money without having it affect your cap so much. You got to know the rules before you can bend them, and I think that the offices there, Ziegler and Champ in the GM office has a good idea of how to manipulate this cap. So, Jack, to reiterate, don't focus on the overall dollar amount. Okay, focus on the cap hit, the amount of cap space that Carr is going to take. This year, it's only like 25.5 million. Uh, Richard Lyon writes, Jack, yeah, right now it's the fifth highest, but the value is going to be higher soon. Yeah, I mean, the cap always goes up, but guys, don't focus on the overall money because it's non-guaranteed. You got to focus on cap hit. That's the main thing, cap hit. Uh, let's see here. Carlos writes, basically a 1-year prove it deal for Carr. I've heard that a few times. I don't know if that's the case, man. I really don't know if that's the case. I don't know that Josh McDaniel would leave being the highest paid coordinator in the league and having chances almost every single year to be a head coach for the last few years, at least the last few years. I don't know that he would leave the situation that he's in right now to be a head coach somewhere if he didn't love the situation. Part of that situation is Derek Carr. Now, don't get me wrong. If Derek Carr doesn't perform up to the expectations of Josh McDaniels and Ziegler and Champ and all these guys, right? Um, I would say probably 2 years. He'd have to have like a Carson Wentz nosedive for the next 2 years to be released after the 2023 season. I don't see him being released after this season, even if his play is not up to expectations. Okay, the cap hit this year went from 19.8 to 24.8. Yes, it did. That's part of the trade-off, right? His next year cap hit is not 36 million, and the next year after that's not 43 million. That's not the cap hit. With non-guaranteed dollars, it can be manipulated, guys. It can be manipulated. Look into that, Jack. Look into the way that non-guaranteed money cap hits can be manipulated. Because it's non-guaranteed, it's not going to be a 100% cap hit. Uh, Carlos writes, yeah, Josh McDaniels wanted Carr in New England. Yeah, he was posed the question, did you guys in New England a couple years ago want to trade for Derek Carr? And he smiled and said no comment. Well, that's a yes. He did want to trade for Derek Carr a couple years ago when they lost Brady. That's the guy that they wanted to go after. They only really went after one uh, quarterback, and they kind of fell into Cam Newton because he was still there. And they're like, oh shit, we need somebody if we can throw the ball here, even though Cam can't really throw the ball anymore. But yeah, they wanted Derek Carr. They wanted to get him via trade from us a couple of years ago. So yeah, I mean, I don't see that McDaniels would leave a cushy job, basically not having to worry about his job or his job security or anything like that, being an offensive coordinator in New England, uh, to be a head coach with more scrutiny and more responsibility. If he didn't like the situation, and part of that situation is having a new stadium, having plenty of money that the owner doesn't mind spending, you know, being able to bring over a guy that he trusts to be in the front office in Ziegler, who brought in a guy, Champ, who was with the Bears, and then they bring in Graham, who used to be with New England a while back, but is more recently the defensive coordinator with the Giants, who had the number 6 rated secondary last year, by the way, which is where we needed most of our help. and they were able to put in pieces, just like they said. We need to get more talent on this roster. That's exactly what they did. B-Man Vegas, yeah, it's not a prove it deal. It really isn't. I think get that out of your mind, guys. It's not a prove it deal. It really isn't, guys. Um, uh, Jack Kennan writes again. So, are you saying to restructure next year? No, we're not going to restructure the entire contract. What we're going to do is we can manipulate how much of that salary is hits against the cap. So maybe not the total number per se, but how much that number hits against the cap. That's what can be manipulated. Um, B-Man Vegas writes, they've simply left the ability to maneuver Carr's contract as needed as they re-sign our top playmakers. Okay, yeah, that's another way to say it. It's pretty much the same thing. And Richard Lyon writes, he wants everyone to be paid. Well, I think he wants the players that he wants to keep and the players that are going to be more of an influence on wins and losses. I think he wants those guys to be paid for sure. And he even said so. The last time he signed a big contract, his best friend got shipped out because they didn't have enough cash to put in it. Okay, look, let's just call it what it was. Even though Mark Davis is the poorest owner in the NFL and has been the poorest owner in the NFL for a lot of years, he still has plenty of money, right? The issue with signing contracts with guaranteed money, let's say, for example, you sign a player for $100 million contract for 5 years, but 60 million of it only is guaranteed, right? At the time the contract is signed, the team has to take $60 million and put it in an escrow account. The reason for that is that's guaranteed money. If he goes bankrupt, if the team goes bankrupt or whatever, that player who signed that contract, per the collective bargaining agreement with the NFL, is still owed that money. So they don't have that money to do anything else with. The issue with Mac is once they signed Carr and gave him the guaranteed dollars, Davis and the Raiders did not have the amount of money they felt comfortable that Mac wanted as guaranteed dollars to put in that account. Because of that, because of the issue with guaranteed dollars, Mac didn't want to sign that type of contract. So they shipped him over to the Bears, who were able to give him that money because they were more cash rich. That's the long and short of it, guys, as far as that goes. So with Carr taking less of a guaranteed money, they didn't have to put as much money into that escrow account because it's only 1 year guaranteed. Plus, uh, Mark Davis has a lot more money now. As you see, he moved up from the Mini Cooper to the Lamborghini he was driving the other day. Well, the thing is Jack Kennedy, you're writing. Soto, you're saying you saw something different than me. What is the cap hit every year? Honestly, right now, it doesn't matter what the cap hit is on paper for 23 and beyond on Carr's contract because it's going to change because they can change it because it's non-guaranteed money and they can kind of make it whatever they want, pretty much. I would say whatever they want. They can't make it like $1 million or anything like that. But look what happened this year with what's his name? Deshaun Watson's contract. His contract is like $1 million guaranteed, and like fucking 39 million non-guaranteed. So it's like you could do some pretty weird things with this contract with his contract. Yeah, Wall's making about 7 million. Half a KC, get the hell out of here with that. If he holds out, he holds out. Whatever. I mean, I don't think he will. Yeah. One thing that was interesting though, when Carr signed his contract, he said, "I want Renfro's and I want Jones and I want this guy and I want that guy. I want these guys. Foster Moreau to resign." He didn't say Waller. He didn't say Waller's name. And I played it back a couple of times and I'm like, damn, he didn't say Waller, did it? This fucking guy, RJ, I am so disappointed in you, sir. It was 9:30 in the evening. The night was young. The night was our oyster. Ready to go out, hang out, and RJ bails on us. He says, "I am way too tired. I need 15 hours of sleep. I'm going to bed at 9:30. I can't believe it. Uh, RJ, you do have to make it up today. I will say that right now. B-Man Vegas writes, Juan, do you think we'll sign Honey Badger? I think we have a great chance of signing him because we do need one thing that I do like about Graham's scheme is he can use a 3 safety set, or he can use that one as a box safety, or he can use a linebacker in the box. So having 3 starting safeties is not out of the realm of possibility for the Las Vegas Raider defense, given that he doesn't really subscribe to a 4-3 or the 3-4. It's going to be like a 4-2-5 or a 3-3-5, something like that. Depending on what kind of edge rusher you have, if it's a hand in the dirt defensive end or a stand-up outside linebacker, which we have both on the team now. So Matthew, I think, can be a very good addition. I think the fact that he's visited so many teams and not signed yet, it's not too big a deal because Stefan Gilmore did the same thing and he didn't sign too crazy a contract. I mean, 14 million guaranteed for 2 years, not crazy. So I think that Matthew has a lot better injury history the last 5 years or so. I think he's played at least 93 or 4% of the snaps every single year, not total, but every single year the last 4 years. And his play has not been dropping any. He's still one of the elite safeties in the league. So getting him would be a good get for us. I think we will get him. Maybe I'm just trying to be a little bit more optimistic than others, but yeah, for sure. James West, RJ the party animal. Yes, RJ, you are a party animal. And the party's in his pants. I think is what happened yesterday. Instead of feeling himself a little too much. B-Man Vegas writes, yeah, I think Carr wanted to make sure he mentioned Foster. You know what? One thing about Foster Moreau, I had very high hopes for Foster Moreau last year. When Waller went out, Foster didn't really perform that much better. Part of that could be attributed to the fact that Renfro just can get open on anyone. And another part of that is if you're able to get open and Carr can trust you, he's going to continue to feed you the ball. So that's why Renfro's numbers really spiked up, especially after Waller got hurt, because he didn't really trust a lot of the other guys on his team that were able to get open consistently. I mean, he threw the ball a lot to Zay Jones, even though maybe he shouldn't sometimes. But Renfro was a guy who was able to get open and make the catches still too. All right, guys. Well, we're winding down here. We're a little over an hour done, so I think we're gonna wrap up today. Thanks, guys, again for being patient with me while I went through some technical issues. Again, make sure always to like, comment, and subscribe. If you see someone out there wearing Raider gear, hit them up. Tell them about the Windbags and even the other Raider content creators. There's a lot of good Raider content creators out there. Again, there's Sanjeet, there's Graphics, there's Tape Don't Lie, there's Honcho. There's a lot of guys out there. So make sure that you pump up the community. There's plenty of Raider content creators and plenty of Raider fans out there. We all do the show a little bit different. Tape Don't Lie. If you're a real X and O's watching tape kind of guy, Tape Don't Lie is probably the one for you. But the thing is even though we're talking about the same things, we all have a different perspective on it. We all have a different forum for it. So we're able to relate in a different way. And guess, the more content, the better if it's something that you really are backing and rooting for, like the Raiders. Let's see here. Well, Jack Kenna, one last one. Soto, come on OG show so we can talk live about Carr's contract on Dos Pandulas show. I see it very differently than most. Okay, well, send me an invite. We'll see if we can figure that out. My schedule is really shitty because I have, I work like I was gonna say I work like a Mexican, but I am Mexican, so I have a lot of jobs. What do you want me to do? All right, guys, thanks a lot. Enjoy your weekend, and above all else, like I'll always say, go Raiders.